Imagine this. It's the height of the WNBA season, and a heavyweight battle is brewing. Two of the league's most iconic figures, Aja Wilson and Caitlin Clark, are set to collide on the court. But just as the hype reaches its peak, Aces fans are hit with a gut-wrenching announcement. Aja Wilson, the heart and soul of Las Vegas, is sidelined. The game goes on, and despite a valiant effort from the Aces, they fall to the New York Liberty in a nail-biting 75-71 finish. But the story doesn't end there. Just a few days later, Wilson is back, cleared for action, ready to go head-to-head with the rising star Caitlin Clark and her Indiana Fever. Today, we're breaking down not just Wilson's return, but what it means for the Aces, the Fever, and the larger WNBA landscape. Why does one player's return matter so much? How does Wilson's presence impact the dynamic between these two powerhouse teams? And more importantly, what does this mean for the Aces as they march toward the WNBA Finals? First things first, Aja Wilson's absence wasn't just a minor setback for the Las Vegas Aces. It was seismic. The Aces had been on a roll, dominating the competition thanks in large part to Wilson's relentless performance throughout the season. With Wilson in the lineup, they had a go-to scorer, a defensive powerhouse, and a leader that lifted the entire team's performance. Let's put her numbers into perspective. Wilson leads the WNBA in scoring with a jaw-dropping 27.3 points per game, PPG. That's almost 5 more points per game than the next top scorer, Arike Ogunbowale of the Dallas Wings, who averages 22.6 PPG. These aren't just stats, they're game-changing contributions that define the Aces' strategy. But when Wilson was sidelined for that crucial game against the New York Liberty, everything shifted. Kelsey Plum stepped up, dropping 25 points, but it wasn't enough. Without Wilson, the Aces' offense lacked its usual flow, and other players struggled to fill the void. The final score, 75-71, was a testament to how close the game was, but it also highlighted how much the Aces missed their star player. And when you consider that only 2 other Las Vegas players scored in double figures, the absence of Wilson's consistent production becomes even more glaring. Now fast forward to this pivotal moment, Aja Wilson's return. After the close loss to the Liberty, the Aces were eager to bounce back, and having Wilson back on the floor provided the spark they needed. Head coach Becky Hammon knew how important Wilson's presence was. While speaking to reporters before the game, Hammon was cautious but optimistic. "I'll be watching her," Hammon said, "but she says she's good." That's all the Aces needed to hear. Wilson was ready to go, and she was about to make a statement. Facing the Indiana Fever, led by Caitlin Clark, Wilson's return wasn't just a return to normalcy for the Aces, it was a declaration of intent. This wasn't just another regular season game. With the season nearing its end and the playoffs looming, every game took on added importance. Wilson's return injected life into a team that had been dealt a tough blow just days before. And while her minutes were carefully managed, her impact was undeniable. The matchup itself was enough to make headlines. Aja Wilson, the reigning WNBA MVP, facing off against one of the league's most electrifying young talents, Caitlin Clark. On paper, this was a battle between two eras of basketball. The seasoned dominance of Wilson versus the emerging brilliance of Clark. Clark, who had been turning heads all season with her scoring prowess and playmaking ability, was looking to cement her own legacy. But with Wilson back on the court, the Indiana Fever knew they had their hands full. This isn't just about individual performances, though. It's about how these players impact the game around them. Wilson's presence on the floor changes everything for the Aces. Defensively, she anchors the team, protecting the rim and providing a level of toughness that makes scoring inside a nightmare for opponents. Offensively, she's not just a scorer, she's a facilitator. Wilson can stretch the floor with her mid-range game, dominate in the post, and even set up teammates when the defense collapses on her. Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, represents a new wave of dynamic guards in the WNBA. Her ability to shoot from deep, drive to the basket, and create opportunities for others makes her a constant threat. But with Wilson back, the Fever had to rethink their entire game plan. Would Clark's quickness and creativity be enough to overcome the Aces' size and experience? Or would Wilson's return prove too much for the young Fever star? To understand just how important Wilson is to the Aces, you have to look beyond the stat sheet. Sure, her 27.3 points per game leads the league, and her defensive numbers are equally impressive. But what makes Wilson truly special is her leadership. She's the player her teammates look to in tough moments. When the game is on the line, Wilson is the one who steps up. Her return against the Fever wasn't just about filling a statistical gap, it was about restoring the confidence of an entire team. Coach Hammon alluded to this before the game, noting that they had considered holding Wilson out for another match. But this wasn't the time to play it safe. With the regular season winding down and the playoffs on the horizon, Wilson, every game mattered, and Wilson's desire to be back on the court spoke volumes. She wasn't just physically ready, she was mentally prepared to lead her team through the final stretch of the season. What makes jaWilson a game changer isn't just her scoring or her defense. It's the intangibles, the things that don't show up in the box score but make all the difference in a game. Wilson's basketball IQ is off the charts. She knows when to take over a game, when to pass, when to set screens, and when to let her teammates shine. Her presence on the floor forces opposing defenses to adjust, opening up opportunities for players like Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, and Chelsea Gray. Against the Fever, those intangibles were on full display. Wilson wasn't just scoring, she was facilitating, setting the tone on defense and energizing her team. The Aces were a different team with her back in the lineup, and that's the kind of impact that only a few players in the league can have. With Wilson back and the regular season coming to a close, the focus for the Aces shifts to the playoffs. As the defending WNBA champions, they know what it takes to win in the postseason. But this year, the competition is fiercer than ever. Teams like the New York Liberty and the Dallas Wings are making their own cases for title contention, and every game from here on out will be a battle. Wilson's return couldn't have come at a better time. Her ability to dominate on both ends of the floor gives the Aces a significant edge as they gear up for the playoffs. And while there are still questions about her minutes and overall health, one thing is clear: the Aces are a completely different team with Wilson on the court. Her presence changes everything, and as the playoffs approach, the Aces will lean on her even more. jaWilson's return to the court is about more than just one player's comeback. It's about what she represents for the Las Vegas Aces and the WNBA as a whole. Wilson is not just a star, she's a symbol of what it means to lead, to overcome adversity, and to elevate an entire team. Her battle with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever is just one chapter in a larger story, but it's a chapter that reminds us why Wilson is one of the most valuable players in the league. As we head into the final stretch of the season, all eyes will be on Wilson and the Aces. Will they be able to defend their title? Can Wilson continue to play at an MVP level despite the challenges? One thing is certain, with Wilson back, the Aces are once again a force to be reckoned with. And for fans of the game, this is the kind of drama and excitement that makes the WNBA so special. Thanks for watching. If you're excited to see how jaWilson and the Las Vegas Aces finish the season, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more in-depth NBA and WNBA analysis. Stay tuned as we follow this thrilling season all the way to the WNBA Finals.